Bro, there was a really interesting interview with Mike Tyson the other day, man, on his Instagram page. Mike Tyson's a deep motherfucker, man. He's so deep.
He's been through some shit, man.
He's so deep.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he was just talking about his life and like what he used to try to say to himself to pump himself up because he has low self-esteem.
You know what? When he was on your podcast, right? Mm-hmm. Man, one question I want someone to ask him is, they've mentioned it before, but no one ever gets really too deep into it on the fact that Damato had him hypnotized.
He did it. He talked about it on the podcast in depth.
And then when Cuss died, did the hypnotism stop?
Yeah, because Cuss was doing it. Yeah, Cuss was a hypnotist. When he was 13, when he was a little kid, Cuss was hypnotizing him.
Maybe he hypnotized him into thinking he was a demon. You know what I mean?
He hypnotized him into being a machine.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I mean.
He would tell, well, there was so many factors, right? First of all, it was his terrible childhood, right?
Yes.
Mike had a terrible childhood, no love. And then all of a sudden, he finds out that he's crazy physically gifted. Like Cuss, Teddy Atlas told me that when Mike Tyson was 13 years old, they would take him to these little amateur fights, and he was 190 pounds. 13 years old,
Christ.
190, just fucking jacked.
A tank.
Just naturally jacked.
Some of the 13-year-olds like, what the fuck?
Well, they didn't believe him. They made him fight like 16, 17-year-olds because they're like, he's not 13. He's at least 16.
I wonder if there's any
fine.
video of him being hypnotized backstage.
I wonder.
Dude, maybe that was the fucking key.
Damato said he would do it backstage before he walked out.
I don't know about that.
Before the fights. He would get hypnotized before the fights, backstage.
Well, he hypnotized him from the time that he was really young, and he told him, like you don't exist, it's just the task at hand. He would have him just break these guys down. There's all these factors, right? The guy has no love. He has this terrible childhood. Then he's physically gifted, and he winds up with one of the all-time great boxing coaches, particularly for the mind.
Yes.
And Teddy Atlas, when Teddy was young in his prime, was also an amazing boxing coach. And he's up in the Catskills, where he's up in the mountains in this secluded environment, so he can concentrate only on boxing. He's getting hypnotized, and he's watching Jimmy Jacobs has this insane library of fights, everything from Jack Dempsey to Joe Louis to Henry Armstrong. He's watching the all-time greats. He's watching all this black and white footage of Jack Johnson from back in the day. Oh, I don't know.
What a story.
I don't know, but there's so much that led to him becoming, at least for a few years, the greatest heavyweight boxer ever.
And you think the hypnosis stuff actually worked?
Yeah, fuck yeah, for sure. It had.
Could you do it on other people?
Yeah, you could hypnotize people.
Look at his face when he'd walk into the ring. The early fights, he looked like a murderer.
Yeah.
Like he was going to murder
like a monster.
He
was a monster. Yeah. He was incredible, man. Though, look, no one can sustain the kind of pace that he kept up in the early days. But man, I still maintain when he fought Marvis Frazier, that was as scary as a heavyweight has ever been.
Terrified.
When he fought Michael Spinks, he was as scary as a heavyweight. It
was a phenom, right? It was it was just like this. His fight was like everybody shut down and watched it.
Yeah,
and they would starch dudes and people would complain it was too short.
You would think that maybe there'd be some UFC fighters that are getting hypnotized. Yeah, what's up?
They are.
They got to look into that.
I'm sure.
They don't have the Shorman.
Vinny Shorman does that shit. Vinny Shorman. He's a hypnotist. He's also a commentator.
Diego Sanchez is coach Mike.
This is Tyson in the early days. Oh, that's him and Marvis Frazier.
Look at that face.
The Marvis Frazier fight, dude. That was the fight. That was the fight.
That guy looks scared.
Oh, they're all scared.
Dude, remember Bruce Seldon's face?
Oh, yeah. Bruce Seldon got knocked out by a punch.
That's the worst because of his afro. That's by far the worst fight.
Dude, Mike Tyson was just destroying people back in the day. Just destroying people. It was a different time, man. Look at this. Boom. That was when he won the title. It was a different, the heavyweight division before him was bullshit.
He also didn't test back then. I hate to be a stickler.
Yeah. Well, you could say the same thing.
I hate to be that guy that they didn't test back then.
Do you think he was on the sauce?
Tyson?
Come on, bro.
Do you? Do you think he was?
You think he would admit 100%? it? Wouldn't Tyson admit that?
I think he would.
He would. Has
anyone ever asked him?
That's a good question.
I wouldn't ask him.
He's so honest.
I'm not asking him.
I would ask him.
You should have.
I should have. I didn't think about it.
It's what they did back then.
I don't think he needed
everybody on juice?
He was small.
Look at Evander Holyfield. Look at Evander Holyfield. He could win third or fourth in Olympia.
When Tyson came out of jail, though, Evander Holyfield for sure did something.
Yeah.
When Tyson came out of jail, When Tyson came out of jail, he was so ridiculously ripped. What was that? McNeely? Is that his name? The dude he fought when he got out of jail?
Yeah.
See,
yeah.
go to
Some
go
poor
to that.
soul.
People
Go
do
to that.
roids in jail?
Oh, if you're Mike
dude.
Tyson, they've got him steaks and he's probably eating prime rib every night.
Did you ask him
Come on,
about his
man.
life, his time in jail?
No, I didn't. We talked about so many. He was, after 3, he's talking to Mike motherfucking Tyson.
Yeah, you don't want to go too deep.
3 hours.
Yeah.
For 3 hours, you only get so much you could talk about. It was just incredible to be. You know what the funniest take on him? Kamaru Usman said he was doing this thing with Mike Tyson. He's hanging out. He goes, it's like you're sitting next to a lion. And it's like, that's really Mike Tyson? It's like a lion's there.
Yeah, you're scared.
Like, I hope he keeps it together.
I hope he keeps it together.
It's like he's a lion. He's a destroyer.
Dude, I've done a podcast with him, and it was like, it was one of his first podcasts. It was me, him, and Brian was there, and Tyson was on the side of me here at the exact same thing. I was like, well, I hope he doesn't freak the fuck out. And he's in all sweats, and he was so out of it, like on medication. Was he?
Yeah,
he was like a drugged up lion at that day. Yeah.
I wonder if they got him on medication now, or if it's just weed.
I think it was before the weed. He was on all this medication, and it was, not his fault. He's kind of out to lunch on these pills, but it was a weird podcast.
Isn't that funny that you guys get on all these pills and weed just sorts it all out?
Yep.
For some people.
Remember that story you talked about when he used to date that one Robin Givens, and then they broke up. They were probably married, right? Did they get married?
They got married.
And then after they got divorced, he said he was apparently still banging her every now and then he shows up and like Brad Pitt's with her.
Yeah.
I love Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what Brad Pitt was thinking?
He's like, oh,
Big fan. Oh, dude.
Hey, let me get the fuck out of here. We didn't even do anything.
Can you imagine what was going through his mind?
If you're Brad Pitt.
Mike Tyson pulls up in a Porsche.
Mike Tyson might make you stay in the room while he fucks Robin.
Yeah.
He might
make you suck his dick too. You never know, man.
I'm gonna have her suck my dick and then I'm gonna come in your face. You stay put. You sit on that chair right there.
And you're gonna sit on that chair, dog.
Yeah, you're like, no, I'd just rather leave.
I'd rather
Can I leave, Mike? Is it okay to leave?
That's not an option. That's not an option.
Poor Brad Pitt must have been fucking terrified.
Yeah, out of all the people in the world,
dude,
that should disqualify you from ever dating her.
Dude,
like your ex-husband. Who's your ex?
Dude, sometimes a girl's so fine, you'll risk it all, dude. Mike Tyson, John Jones, it don't matter if they're fine enough, dude. You'll risk it all.